And I'm Scott Davis, Team 7, running with Cory Davis, my son.
Iron Dog. What number of races is for you?
You know, I've been in all of them since 1984, with the exception of 2 years was out with injuries. 96 was one, and I don't remember the other year. It was before that, so whatever that is, 25 or 6 or whatever it is. A lot.
You've been in every race since '84?
Yeah, except for I was out and missed two years with injuries.
Are you like the veteran of all veterans?
Yeah, I think I'm the last guy left that raced the very first race that's still actively racing. There's a few guys that are in the Hall of Fame, that Iron Dog Hall of Fame, that started in the beginning, but they've since retired.
Good God, what drives you?
Stupidity, I think. No, I think you know, just being the best at something in the world. You know, being in Alaska, we're isolated enough where we don't get to be at a world class or national level at a lot of races. You know, and I'm a competitive guy. This will be next summer will be competitively racing for 40 years. I started when I was 11 years old. So, I mean, that's my nature. But I think this Iron Dog allows you to be the best in the world at an event, and you know, it's something that we have a leg up on, being the fact we get to ride snowmobiles a good share per year. So, you know, we'll start riding in October, and you know, with some creative driving, you can ride through May. You know, so you know, we get, you know, even at a national level, racing with the kids. Both my kids are national caliber snowcross racers, and you know, you get to at least be on a level playing ground. If you were going to decide to go racing motorcycles in Southern California, you wouldn't have a very good chance. So this is something we do have a good opportunity.
This year.
Yeah, this is the first year Cory and I raced together.
Iron Dog's a lot about team camaraderie, right?
Yeah, it is, and you know, I think every parent, every father-son go through that period of time when, you know, they're not best friends, you know, and you know, we were very close for a long period of time, and then, you know, we get to that point where the kids get to be independent, and I think, you know, it's really cool because now Cory's at that point in his career where I think we're kind of over that, and you know, you get to be you know, friends and equals. You know, he brings something totally different to the team than I do. You know, I bring you know, lots and lots of experience, and he brings youth and speed, you know. So, you know, I've never really been in this situation. I've always raced with people under my age, and really looking forward to it. You know, it's just a great opportunity. You know, I'm in definitely the twilight of my racing career. You know, I've threatened to quit every year for the last 4 or 5 years, and it always seems like there's always a good reason to race again. And this year, you know, the reason was to race with Cory, and just real excited. And you know, it's just been a fun thing to do, you know, and you know, we spent a lot of time getting Cory on a national level team, so I don't have to, you know, drive and mechanic and do all that stuff. And but then I kind of don't get to see him much. You know, he's gone all winter.
Previous team members, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
And who are those, and what's that like? I mean, it's still a close-knit family, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's kind of how Iron Dog grows. You get 2 good guys, and then the team disbands, and then they each pick another guy, whoever that might be, maybe a better or at least somebody that you could protege, and then it just kind of self-generates. And you know, for a lot of years, the race, it was won by, the first 15 years, there was only 3 different winners, I think. You know, myself, John Feo, and Danny Zapay. So that was just the way it worked, you know. I mean, and they had multiple different partners, and I had multiple different partners, but I was a part, or they were a part of each one of the teams that won, you know. And but that's changed immensely. I think one of the guys, you know, press guys were telling me that I think they've had 5 different winners in the last 5 years. And it's great for the sport. It's great to get more people involved. You know, we get people from the bush, we get people from the interior, we get people from lower 48, we get people, you know, it's a great sport. Like I said, you know, it's the one thing, you know, it's a race that we can race here and say, yep, I am the best in the world at building a snowmobile and going 2,000 miles faster than any other human being. You know, it's kind of the attraction. And I mean, I think there's a certain, the guys like me, guys that have run it multiple times and have, you know, good finish records, they don't ever give up. You know, you whatever adversity that you come across, you just don't quit, because you never know what's coming down the trail. You may run into a storm or 2 feet of snow, and then, you know, 2 or 3 hours behind don't mean anything then, because, you know, everybody's holed up in some place on the clock. So I've seen it all. Well, I shouldn't say, I've seen a lot of different situations, and you know, I continually get surprised by different scenarios that happen, that play out in the, you know, this 1 week span of the year.
We've been talking to quite a few various teams this morning, and one of the teams, one of the members said, it's quite literally at times a race at 4 miles an hour.
Yeah. Well, you know, blinding snowstorm, a blow up out of Nome, breaking trail through a foot or two of snow, you know, with big snowflakes and water running down your neck, and your boots are full of water because it's raining on you, or big wet snowflakes, and you know, or you've got to stop and put your helmet light on so you can try to find, you know, a trail marker, or just, you know, whatever, you know, or you got to wait for the buffalo to get out of your way on the buffalo tunnel so you can drive. So you're riding along trying to push the buffalo down the trail, you know, so you can go.
Do you think the fact that the race is taking place in Alaska, does that add anything special to it?
Oh yeah, I mean, just the geography and the terrain that you have to endure, and the weather is really unpredictable. And you know, when you start off, you know, it's relatively mild weather-wise here, and you know, by the time you get over the Alaska range and you get in the interior, you could have a completely different environment and climate, and then you go down the river system for a few hundred miles and you're on the coast, which is another totally different. You know, you might have 3 or 4 different weather fronts in that week, or so. Yeah, Alaska. You know, if you don't like the weather, just wait 5 minutes.
True story. Any particular challenges on the course this year, or even from previous years, or just in general, that, not red flags, but something that you definitely take into consideration? Something that you seem to find you're thinking about more, you know, more often than
you know, probably some of the most challenging conditions is, like, you know, there's a section in the Farewell Burn called the Narrows, and you know, it's by Egypt Mountain through Farewell, and I'm not sure what happens to the climate right there, but a lot of times it can be just brutally cold, and then it warms up and melts all the snow, and then just leaves you these. One guy described it as bowling balls glued together, and I mean, you're just kind of rattling through that. And you know what happens? Like last year was the worst, and we didn't make it that far. But last year there was literally 40 miles with no snow. I mean, none. So you know, burning up motors, and you know, we're all water cooled. So you know, you got to have snow or water or something to keep your sled cool. So that's always a concern. It's always a rough spot going through the burn for the first time with a rookie like I am. You know, the Buffalo Tunnels, like we talked about, it's just a narrow, you know, it's about 30 or 40 miles of real tight, narrow trees. And what happens is you'll get a little bit, you'll be riding along there feeling pretty good, and you'll get a little bit close to a tree, and you'll turn your ski, well, it'll bounce off that tree, and you'll just hit another one on the other side. So you just, I mean, we're talking fractions of inches here that you have to, you know, it's a very precise, small, so even a root, you know, so you got your ski, I'm getting this way, you turn a little bit, you hit that root, bounces you into the tree on the opposite side of the trail. So yeah, that's always a concern. And getting, you know, I always thought once you get through that first day and you get to McGrath, you know, things kind of settle in. You know, you're off the river, where, you know, if it's flat light, I don't like it. You know, I just don't like riding flat light on the river. And then you're through the Buffalo Tunnels, and you're through the burn, and you get to McGrath, and then I think things kind of settle in after that. You know, so.
Kind of a weird question, but do you bond with your sled?
I've cussed it a lot. Yeah. You know, it's really weird. You know, we'll go through a cycle, and we'll learn a chassis, and learn a motor, and we get comfortable with that. And just about that time, you know, the next generation of snowmobile will come out. You know, and so there's been, you know, particular models that we've just have done really well. And Iron Dog, for me, you know, I've had a couple chassis that have worked really well. But it's not really, I mean, I think it's more your relationship with your partner and being, you know, nice to your snowmobile. Don't break it, and don't run into something, and don't, you know, I always explain Iron Dog. Iron Dogs is like one little mistake in Iron Dog turn is just a snowball. So you say you tip over and you break your windshield. Well, it's really cold and you don't want to stop, or you don't have a windshield. So then your windshield's broke. Well, then you frostbite your face, and then your ice falls shut and you can't see. I mean, that's the kind of things that happen. I mean, it's very small thing, you hit something and it bends something, and later down the road it causes you to crash or something. So it's 7 days of concentration and not losing that, you know, looking at where your skis are all the time and not losing, you know, because there's, you know, we don't go as fast as you know, say a regular 500-mile cross-country race or a 100-miler. You're definitely a more measured approach in what we do, and you know, you can get kind of complacent out there, but it'll get you like that if you're not paying attention.
Talk to me about Nome.
Well, I think Nome's kind of where the race really starts. I mean, you want to get to Nome in pretty good shape, and then from then on, you know, it's kind of where it's down and dirty. You know, we've got 900 miles or 800 miles to go. We got to go. It's time to go. There's no, and you know what happens then is a lot of mechanicals will start to show up in the last half of the race, in the last 500 miles in the race, especially. You know, but you know, once you get off the coast and onto the river system, it's relatively easy to limp a wounded snowmobile to the finish line. You know, when we used to start in Big Lake and finish in Big Lake, that was a whole different deal. You couldn't make it back across the lost range, and over that, you know, you beat the trail up pretty good northbound, and then you ride the same trail on the way home. I'd rate that at least half again, maybe twice as tough as the Fairbanks finish, but the Fairbanks finish involves a lot more of the state, and I understand that, you know, the component of why they do it like that. But you know, those 2,200 mile Big Lake Nome, Big Lake, tough race. So, you know, when you get to Nome, you know, hopefully you're in good shape, and you know, let the racing begin there. And you know, if there's somebody that you're behind a little bit, think you can put some time on them, that's what you'll come out. Or maybe you're happy with where you are, you're wounded, so you just try to maintain, you know. But I'd say that's probably, it gets more and more serious at that point, and then each check stop thereafter just gets more and more urgent. Urgency happens, you know. If you're going to do something, you've got to go and try to make time on a team that's ahead of you in every check stop. You'll be looking. That's one of the advantages of being back, and is you can look at the times of guys that are in front of you. You know, are you making time? You know, that's an advantage of being back a few teams, and that way you know, well, you know, they're setting a pace. You're trying to, you know, improve on it.
Two more questions. Ever so briefly, logistics. Obviously, it takes more than just you two guys to get a team up and going.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of logistical support out in the field is required to keep these teams moving through the race?
Well, you know, I've been lucky enough. My brother's a pilot and loves to fly in Alaska, and he's been with me every year that it was allowed. You know, he's flown, you know, a lot of different conditions, and it doesn't always help you. You can't 100% total on, if you rely on your plane to be there, it won't. You know, weather will be bad, you'll get separated somehow from some weather. But it does give you a little, at least some options. When you, if you have a mechanical, it give you some options. You can stop, let your plane try to catch you in that amount of time and get parts and stuff. So, you know, and you know, guys that help out, and you know, on the trail. I mean, I had a couple of former racers. That guy that I won that underdog with in '85 usually flies with us too, and he just understands racing. You know, so it's really good to have another race brain out there so they can kind of see what happens. And it's always nice. My daughter will fly with my with my brother, and they can support you at the event, you know, at the check stops, whatever that might be, you know. So.
Last question. You've been to the finish line a few times. Is it the same every time, or is it different?
Well, it depends on where I am. If I get there first, it's, you know, I mean, Iron Dog's kind of an emotional roller coaster because if you let yourself think too far ahead, you know, you have to go through all those emotional letdowns, you know, along the way, and it's devastating, you know. I mean, you got it made, you know, and then motor goes down, or you know, crash, or whatever it might be, you know. So, you know, winning the Iron Dog is probably, you know, in the top 3 feelings of elation in my life, you know. I mean, I raced my whole entire life, you know, and there's something about it, you know. I think it's the amount of hard work you put into it, and the amount of effort it takes, and the time, and then, you know, this year be a really special year with Cory, and you know, he could help me push, you know, be the winningest racer in Iron Dog history, and it's not why I race, but it would be a nice bonus.
Sweet, thanks.